In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys a full breakdown of the best defensive settings right now in NBA 2K25 Myteam. I just want to have this video here on my channel so you guys can always come back to if maybe you forget your defensive settings or you maybe change them to something else and you want to come back and just know what I think are the best defensive settings in this game. I think this is going to be the video that I want to have on my channel so you guys just know what I think are the best defensive settings in this game to help you guys play better defense. And also I'm going to talk a lot about different strategies and kind of just break down the defensive settings and go more in depth to the defensive settings and kind of what they all do and what kind of different schemes you can run, because there's a lot of different ways you can go about using your defensive settings. So I wanted to give you guys a full tutorial, full breakdown of the defensive settings that I think are the best, but also giving you guys some other options as well. And then quickly at the start of the video, I just wanted to go over what are the best freelances in this game. So me personally, I think the two best freelances are 5-out and Bucks 2018. It's just going to help you have a 5-out spacing, especially if you're running the 5-out, but the Bucks 2018 is pretty much a 5-out spacing as well. And what this is going to help you with is just be able to space the floor out. If you don't have a freelance set to 5-out or Bucks 2018, you're going to notice the four guys, or I guess the two bigs, are just going to be in the paints at all times, and the spacing is just going to be completely horrible. So unless you want to play like the Bulls in the 90s and you want to put two on the low post, go for it, man. I mean, have fun with that. It's just not going to work in 2K unless you like playing that type of way, which I don't know if anybody does, you know, at this stage in my team. So you want to make sure you have that 5-out freelance. You want to make sure you have that Bucks 2018. Either one does work. It's just going to help you out so much on offense when you're actually able to beat your defender. You're not just going to run into your own player because they're just standing there in the block. Unless you have like a crazy post player or a crazy mismatch, there's just no reason for your big man to be in the paint. So I do think a 5-out spacing is the best to run. So for your freelance, either set it to 5-out or Bucks 2018. And also, just to give you guys a quick tip, make sure to go over to your adaptive coaching engine. I don't want you guys to miss this, just in case, you know, I was going to say it at the end of the video, but in case you guys don't stay around till then, make sure you guys are turning this to off. This is probably the most important thing I'll be talking about, because if you leave this on to offense and defense, what it is manually set to, all the defensive settings I'm going to talk about and the offensive freelance that I just mentioned, the 5-out and the Bucks 2018, if you have this adaptive coaching engine turned to offense and defense, it is not going to matter. It will legit not matter, because for some reason the coaching engine will swap it on the fly. They'll change your defensive settings randomly, they'll change your freelance, all that type of stuff. So make sure you guys are turning this setting to off. You need to make sure this is on off. But now to talk about the best defensive settings in this game, I'll first just be going through what I personally think are the best defensive settings and what I personally run on my no money spent account and just whenever I'm playing 2K. And then I'll also talk about some other strategies that you guys can go for as well. So for on ball pressure, this one does matter quite a bit. I personally play on smother. I know a lot of people do play on tight, but with how many people can just shoot over the top of you, I think you have to have both of these. Maybe not smother or deny ball for off ball pressure, but like, I don't think it's a bad idea to run deny ball if you're playing, or to play deny ball on the off ball pressure. If you're playing somebody that likes to send backdoor cuts, then it's probably not a great idea to do so, because you're going to get backdoored every single time if somebody is doing that. But if you're playing somebody that doesn't really know how to backdoor, or, you know, isn't really abusing that, I would say maybe deny ball might be a smart idea. What I personally do is I just play on tight. I think it's more of the safe route to go. You're able to still contest and get there if they do kick it to the corner very quickly and try to shoot a 3-ball, all the type of stuff. But I do think it kind of allows, you know, for not as many backdoor cuts to be happening to you. For the on-ball pressure, like I said, I play on smother. I just think to have that pressure on the ball is key. Now, if you want to play on tight, I know a lot of people do, and it can be useful, so that one's definitely up to you guys. But for me personally, I do play on smother. Now to talk about the force direction, I don't personally run this. You guys can, you know, mess around with this if you want to try to force people middle, if you want to try to force people baseline, you guys can have that. I just play on automatic. I don't think it really matters too much. To talk about the on-ball screen, this is very important, and to me, there's only kind of two ways you can go about this. You can either play go over, which I think is the majority of the player base is what they're using, is the go over, or you can play switch all defense. And the thing with switch all defense is you have to have the right lineup to play this, right? For the on-ball screen and the on-ball screen center, if you want to put both of yours to switch, what's going to happen is on every single ball screen, I'm assuming you guys know what a ball screen is if you're playing 2K, but it's when somebody comes to set a screen to the ball handler. What's going to happen is your CPU and you are just going to switch, or, you know, if you're sitting corner playing off ball defense, your CPUs are just going to switch. So if you want to play switch all defense, you have to have a tall lineup to do so. If you look at my no money spent account, for example, This would not be a perfect lineup to run switch all defense. I mean, you can maybe get away with it, but you want to have a taller point guard. If I had like a Dark Matter Magic Johnson, this would definitely be a tall enough lineup to do that. So you want to make sure if you're going to play switch all defense that you have probably every player be above 6'8", especially that point guard, because what's going to happen is, right, if they're calling a screen, right, and you're on defense, of course, and they're calling a screen for their point guard and their center. If they have Victor Wembanyama at center, or a taller center like Zach Edey, or whatever tall center, and now you're switching, the point guard's out guarding the center and your center is guarding the point guard. I mean, now if they have Wembanyama and you have Zach LaVine, or you have a smaller point guard, that's just going to be an easy 2 points every single time. But if it's a Magic Johnson, or if it's a taller point guard that's better defensively, you might be able to, you know, rotate down. You might be able to cause some havoc down there in the paint, and you might be able to get a paint stop. So I think if you want to play switch all, you got to have the right lineup to do so. I think for a majority of you guys, I would probably just recommend playing on go over. I mean, it's very simple. The on-ball defender will just go over the ball screen. You do have to usually manually go through the screen, at least what I find. So what I do personally is the smartest way to play defense in this game is if you're guarding the point guard, like you're using your point guard, guarding their point guard, for example, and they're calling a ball screen, don't like purposely go into the screen unless they're really, really good, you know, and they're trying to 3-hunt and they're trying to get those three-point shots off. What you guys can do is manually go under the screen. Now, I wouldn't play on go under, because if you leave your CPU to do that, they're just going to give up wide open threes. But if you're playing smart enough and you're able to kind of play the angles right, and they're going to set a ball screen, if you're able to like kind of show like you're going to fight over but then go under, a lot of people like to attack off the pick and roll and they like to get downhill. So if you're playing not that great of an opponent, I would play still the go over on the on-ball screen and the on-ball screen center. But I do think it might be a good idea for you guys to manually go under the screen a lot of the times, especially if you're matched up against a rim running point guard. For example, what you can do with your defensive settings is for specific players, you can actually have certain settings in game. So if you guys go into a game, if you go to your defensive settings, you can actually manually put defensive settings for specific cards. So if you're playing against a point guard like Magic Johnson, you maybe don't want to have on-ball pressure on smother. You can put that maybe on moderate or tight, so they're not playing super high up, because you're not going to get beat by a 3 by Magic Johnson. He's not going to be taking contested threes from the 3-point line. So that's also another thing to talk about, is you can definitely put defensive settings on certain players for cards that maybe can't shoot that well, or cards that are really good 3-hunters. Maybe you want to have this on deny ball or some other settings as well. So I do think these two settings here, on ball screen and on ball screen center, are very important. I personally play on go over, but like I was talking about, you can definitely switch your defensive settings for specific cards, and there's a bunch of different strategies and schemes you guys can run, but I would definitely recommend just going for go over. For the hedge, again, a lot of different ways you could do this. I like to personally play no hedge, because again, I like controlling my point guard and my, let's say, center in the pick and roll. So I'll be on my point guard, but then when you're trying to use that screen, I'll maybe switch onto my center, play like a soft hedge, and then I'll rotate back with my point guard. I'll give you that read, and then the next read, I'll play with my center, I'll fake the hedge. Now you're gonna think I'm coming up, so you're not gonna shoot, and then I'm just gonna recover back to the center card, whether if he's popping or rolling to the rim. So I personally like to play on no hedge, because that means you now control what you want to do on the on-ball screen. You can choose to hedge, hard hedge, soft hedge. You can choose to not hedge at all, right? And I think for me personally, I like to have the capability myself, not in Suke's hands. You know, I like to have the capability myself to choose what I want to do and give a different read every single time. So if you're good at this game and you kind of understand how to play pick and roll defense properly, you know how to click on between the point guard, the center, and kind of play that proper defense, then I think no hedge is the best to run. But if you're kind of newer to this game and you just want your CPU to do it for you, I think soft hedge or catch hedge are personally the two that I would recommend running. But personally, I do play on no hedge for the hedge and the hedge center. Now, maybe one of the most important defensive settings is make sure you change this to stay attached. Always, sorry, I said that backwards. For stay attached, you want to make sure you always have this set to always. You need to have this set. I mean, it is one of the most important defensive settings in this game. For the off-ball screen, I do put go over. If anybody's running plays or if there's any off-ball screen action, you do not want to have to go under. If you have this to go under, you are going to get killed every single time. Like, maybe you'll be good against a non-shooting card, like it says the positives. You know, maybe if you want to set this to a Magic Johnson, if he's ever going to come off an off-ball screen, maybe you want to worry more about him, you know, curling to the basket for a wide open dunk. So again, maybe you can put this to go under for a card like a Magic Johnson or a point guard with not a great jump shot. But I would say from the majority, just have the on-ball screen to go over. For the post, I mean, unless you have literally no good defensive cards in this game at the center position or power forward, just have this to automatic. I mean, you can front if you're really struggling. You know, if somebody's just passing the ball into the post every single time, you could front it and then try to play the weak side, play the backside help. But I mean, that's just way too in depth. Nobody really does this in 2K. Just put this to automatic. For the double team on the perimeter and the double team post, just put this stuff to manual. For the switch rules off ball, make sure this is on switch auto. For the pre-rotate, I just put this on no. And then these are probably the two next and maybe even the most important defensive settings in this entire game, is make sure your screen help rules are on no help, make sure your drive help rules are on no help, and make sure your cutter help rules are on no help. What this means is the drive help rules, for example, is if you get beat, right? Let's say you're guarding the point guard and the point guard gets past you. If they get into the paint, what is going to happen 99% of the time is your two corners, or at least one of your corners, are going to crash into the paint and they're going to leave a wide open three in the corner, which, if you guys know, is the worst shot to give in all of basketball, in real life and in 2K. A kick out to the corner three wide open is the easiest shot to hit in 2K and in real life. You just do not want that to happen. So make sure this is on no help for the drive help rules, the screen help rules, and the cutter help rules as well. So hopefully you guys did find this video helpful. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you guys can run your defensive settings. I think for me, this is what a majority of people do. And you know, the people I know and the people I play against, these are what a majority of people's defensive settings and the defensive settings that I personally like to run. So let me know in the comment section down below, maybe any changes that you guys run in your specific defensive settings. If you guys have any other kind of schemes and strategies, let me know all that type of stuff down below. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.